have gotten seriously better over the years, though. That's not a joke. Like, there's been times where I've kind of like opened the door, like sat there waiting, and then you don't come in. I'm like, wow, did he figure it out by himself?
You know it's gonna happen.
Yeah, just anticipating. You know?
Yeah, good. I get it once in a while. I get it right.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, how many gorillas does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
One gorilla, but it takes a ton of light bulbs.
All right.
What did the? Oh, there's more. What did the Buddhist monk say to the hot dog vendor?
I know this one.
You do.
Yeah, I won't say it.
Make me one with everything.
Make me one with everything.
That one's solid.
I love that.
Is that a grouse?
That looks like a pheasant.
Like a female.
That looked like a hen, yeah.
Okay.
So that was almost, we were almost gonna have to hit pause here so I could go
like,
fulfill my,
one sec.
go fulfill my goal for the year to shoot one grouse this year.
How many did you say you've seen or shot at?
Oh, I've seen like 12 that were at least within shooting range, and I've shot at 6, and I missed all of them. So that shows you what kind of a marksman I am. But
well, hey, but you're trying.
It's time well spent in the woods for sure.
Yeah. That's what you gotta.
Yeah.
All right. Last joke. How many psychiatrists does it take? Wait, no, let me make sure I get this right. Yeah, how many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? Just one, but the light bulb has to really want to change.
That's true. There's truth in that.
Which leads me into the topic perfectly somehow. I just wanted to ask you about the stages of change.
Yeah.
And what they are, how you see people, like where do people get hung up? Like what are the breakthroughs from one to another? So yeah, talk to me about the stages of change.
Let's talk stages of change. That sounds good today. So everyone's probably heard that topic. You know, even if you're watching this video, you've probably heard of the stages of change. It's kind of a theory that was produced by a researcher named Prochaska. And he came up with 5 stages of change. Some people have added a 6th one, and we'll go through those really quickly, that we as people generally go through when we're in the process of making any change in our life.
This could be big or small?
Big or small. It could be, yeah, and it's sort of just kind of a natural process that people go through. And I personally relate to it a lot. And I actually use this a lot in my practice of trying to figure out where somebody's at in their own stage of change over a particular thing, and then what my approach and interventions are going to need to be as a result of where they're at, right? So the first stage of change is something called pre-contemplation, and pre-contemplation is where you have the problem and you don't think you have the problem.
So let's come up with an example of what a problem might be, so we can also maybe walk that problem through.
Pick one.
Picking my nose.
Picking your nose.
Pick my nose way too much.
Well,
hypothetically, this isn't me.
What's funny about that is everybody is disgusted by others picking their nose, and it's research, proven that everybody picks their nose.
Don't judge me.
So everybody who's watching this is like, yeah, he's a nose picker, and they're like, yeah, I did it in my car yesterday, right? But they don't want to admit that. They're like, yeah, no, I didn't, because they're not aware of it, but they did it. So, okay, perfect. So the nose picking. The pre-contemplative person doesn't even know that they pick their nose. They it's like we could add a different one, like drinking, let's say. Okay. It's like, I don't have a problem. Like, yeah, I drink alcohol, but I don't have a problem. It's not a problem. So the pre-contemplative person has a problem, but doesn't think or know that they have a problem. They're totally in a place of ignorance and unawareness, right? Denial. You're pure denial, like watching Finding Nemo, and he goes to that, 12-step meeting with the sharks, and he says, and then they all look at each other like, denial, like that's pre-contemplation,
Okay, does it have to be that you have a problem?
Yeah, or whatever the change is that you're
Okay,
trying to make,
right,
right?
okay, yeah.
So if there's a change that needs to be made, it's probably because there's something
Probably.
that's not effective or not working in your life, right?
Fair,
That
yeah.
needs to change. So the second stage is called contemplation, and this is where something happens in our life, or a series of things goes on in our life, where we start to become aware of the fact that there's something that needs to change. Like, oh, it's like that awareness piece of, I'm a nose picker. Like, oh, like I drink too much to the point that I ended up with a DUI, or to the point that my spouse wants to leave me, or my kids don't want to be around me anymore, or I just lashed out in anger because of my alcohol. Or it's like, oh, I'm starting to see that I have a problem. My eyes are now opened, so to speak. Right?
Okay, great.
So it's, but I'm not going to do anything about it yet. I'm not ready to do anything about it yet, but at least I know that, yeah, if I'm honest with myself in a quiet moment, there's a problem.
So awareness.
Yeah, it's simple awareness of the problem itself. That's a big gap, though, between awareness and actual change, and there's basically a few other steps to get there. The third step is, now that I know and I become aware I'm in contemplation, the next step of change is called preparation. And that's where I kind of get everything ready. I'm starting to lean forward and going, I need to do something about this, or, and I'm going to get stuff ready to change, So I don't know what preparation would be with nose picking,
Okay, let's go with alcohol. The threat of alcohol. I'll think about the
nose picking.
Yeah. For my friend.
So with alcohol now, it's like, I'm not ready to fully change yet. I'm still going to go and I'm going to drink, but I might be starting to maybe not call my friends quite as much that I would go drink with, or I'm starting to kind of make plans for trying to convince myself I'll only drink one when I go out tonight, or I'm starting to kind of set things up that would allow me to step off into this new change that I need to make, but I'm not quite ready to make it yet. I always use the example with people at New Year's who are going to lose 30 pounds. For some reason, before Christmas, they go out and buy 3 new workout outfits and get a gym membership. That's preparation. Like, they never actually use the gym membership, and they wear the workout clothes to look cool with their friends when they're out and about.
I feel like you're talking about me right now. That felt like a low blow.
No, not at all. I've never seen you in workout clothes. Like, I see you this.
I have the outfits at home, all right? They still have tags on them.
Yeah. So that's preparation. And then preparation moves into what we call action. Action is the next step of change, and action is where we actually intentionally start to try to move towards the change we're needing to make. I stop going to the bars, or I stop, stopping by the gas station to grab a cold one on the way home. With my drinking, I actually make an attempt at the change. And what most people get discouraged by is that many times we bounce between contemplation and action and preparation many times.
Ping-ponging.
Yeah. I think with like addictions, the research says that it takes about 14 actual concerted efforts to overcome an addiction. And people get burned out and tired in all of that, right? So I know I've got a problem. I'm going to get ready to try to stop. I try to stop, I fail, and then I go back into contemplation or preparation, and then it's like, in essence, it's almost like the equivalent of a salmon trying to jump a waterfall. It tries, it fails, it lays in the pool for a while, but it knows that if it wants to feel the measure of its creation, it's going to have to try that waterfall again, right? And so eventually it tries and it fails, and then it rests in the pool, and then it tries, and eventually somehow, through some sheer act of will and through practice and through development of strength, it gets up the waterfall, and then it gets to feel the measure of its creation.
Yeah, and it goes and dies.
And then after it feels the measure of its creation, it's completed a full, wholehearted life, it can move on.
Okay, touche.
Right? So that's kind of the pattern that happens as we move through preparation, contemplation, preparation, action many times, and then after we get through action and it's actually become a new habit and started to be a change, it's called maintenance. And that's where we then are living in our new state with our new superpower, so to speak, and we don't have to work really hard at it anymore because we have the habits established. And now that the power of habit is in play, we're less likely to fall back. And then the last stage is that sometimes we do fall back. That's called relapse. And relapse might send us back in. So if I'm trying to, eat healthy and I do really, really well up until Thanksgiving. And then between Thanksgiving and the first of the year, it's no holds barred, you know? It's like, that's relapse, you know?
You mean a month from now?
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm planning on January 1st getting back into my habit. And sometimes it's actually really difficult to reestablish the habit. But that's the way the stages of change work. And what's cool about that is it kind of outlines what's similar with like the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is you start in a certain place, you're confronted with challenges and obstacles, you have to face the demon, go through the cave, conquer the dragon. And then after you conquer the dragon, you get a new superpower, you're more equipped in some way, and then you return to your normal life, but you're now elevated. And then, of course, something else will come along. This is recovery work. This is recovery, is now there's a new challenge, now there's a new task, now there's a new change. I'm going to just follow the same iteration of what I just did over a new challenge. And that's the beauty of life, right?
You know, I was just thinking about one of our buddies who he's getting the crap kicked out of him, just in his relationship, trying to figure out how to hold space. And I sent him a message yesterday. I was just like, hey man, I'm thinking about you. Sorry for all the crap you're going through. I hope you're able to keep your head up and keep moving through it. And he was like, it's just funny because, you know, in the past, I used to actually do things wrong and then almost deserve the butt kicking and the tongue lashing that my spouse is giving me. And now I haven't done that stuff in a long time, and I feel like I'm doing good in my recovery, and I still take the beating. It just feels weird. It feels wrong. I'm like, yeah.
Well, it probably is.
Yeah, probably is.
Yeah.
And you gave him some counsel, you know, of like how to adjust and pivot. And it's like what you're saying, though. It's like you go through all those steps for one area of your life, and then you make it through, however long it takes you, month, years, and then the new challenge,
there's just a new
they're
thing.
ready waiting, you know?
Yeah, it's like, well, like, let's take that example. I don't know if exactly you're talking about, but, you know, it's likely I overcame my addictions. I'm no longer acting out in those things, and I feel good about myself. And now I'm looking at my relationship that's been damaged as a result of those things. And now I have a new task of how do I balance being authentic while keeping boundaries while learning to show empathy. Like, whoa, those are 3 new changes I've got to like take on, and am I ready to do that? You know, and then when I do it, I'm probably going to do it in kind of a really messy, awkward, clunky kind of a way. And if I don't see that as part of the process, I'll give up.
Right.
But if I'm like, this is practice. I'm going to get good at empathy now, and I'm going to get good at boundaries now. When that guy starts to get really good at those things, it will elicit a change in his relationship. Either his partner will just see his strength and want to come along, or she won't be ready for the change that's happening in her stages of change, and she'll still be in pre-contemplation or contemplation, and then there will be a gap that will start to form, and that gap will naturally put pressure on the relationship to either come back together for better or worse, or it'll break, and then they'll go on their way and continue to follow their own cycles of change.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. So I'm curious about what are you pre-contemplating?
Well, I don't know. Like you should tell me what I'm pre-contemplating.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
That was the setup.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a few things you suck at. No. One step further. What about contemplative? Like, is there anything that you're like, I'm aware of this thing, and I just haven't quite been ready to move on it. You know, like, where are you at?
Yeah, there's actually, well, right when you speak up, there's 2 things that are kind of on my mind right now. Actually, maybe 3 things, but the first one is that I've been feeling, for several months now, I've been feeling kind of this personal press urge to actually restudy and reread the Book of Mormon. And I've been kind of holding off on it for some reason. I don't know what's been holding me back, but I've been feeling like I need to go dive into that again and to like really understand it again and kind of glean some new principles. Every time I read any type of scripture, especially the New Testament or the Book of Mormon, when I read it with a set of fresh eyes, I see all sorts of things that apply to my to my work and my mission that sort of kind of come out. And so I think I've been feeling the need for that. And I don't know what's holding me back on that yet. I haven't figured that one out yet. The second thing that I've been contemplating for a very long time, for probably more than a year, is that part of my identity is that I'm an athlete. And I kind of gave it up after I had my hips replaced, and I've kind of gone into like this woe is me, pouting. I stayed just in good enough shape to go do some hunting and stuff. But you can see, like...
I've seen you run too.
Yeah.
It's not pretty like it used to be.
It's not pretty at all. I literally look like a 65-year-old man shuffle when I run. I do. That's why I like to hike, because you can't see it quite as bad. You still see it, right? But my own physical health, I've kind of had this like goal to get back into the best physical shape I can currently be in, and to do two things. One is to complete some type of an event, triathlon or some other kind of a race again, just to show that I can do that and work through the hard thing. And then also, it's been a long time since I've had a six-pack. And as an old man now, I'm in my mid-40s or whatever.
What you got?
I got more of a party ball. But I've been thinking, it would take real work, and it would take real commitment, and it would take all the principles that I teach in my practice for me to actually commit to the 46-year-old version of a six-pack. And I know what's holding me back on that is that I know it's going to be sacrifice and pain.
Work.
Actual work, like real work. And so I keep like putting it off until the first of the year.
You're that guy.
I am that guy. So yeah. So what about you? What are your kind of things that you're staging on right now?
Well, okay. So I was asking, like, does it have to be a problem per se? And on the way up here, one of the things that I was asking you about was hunting. Like, where do you hit a deer exactly to knock it down? And I've been interested in archery for probably my whole life, just as a background. Like, oh, that's so cool. I have this kind of, think about any of the Robin Hood, like,
yeah,
Robin Hood, the cartoon with the fox, and
that's my favorite one.
Yeah, Maid Marian, and man, like that whole movie just had me smitten. Like,
yeah.
I was in love with her probably as much as I was in love with him, and then Legolas and the whole Lord of the Rings series, seeing people just dropping arrows, like, just kind of built up this fantasy in my head, or romanticizing how cool it would be to be good at that thing. And then the more that I thought, and the last one is Hunger Games. Katniss,
oh, yeah.
Man, she's legit. But that's all the kind of romanticized stuff. And then the practicality of it is, a gun would be way easier to use to kill
something. It is
something.
way easier.
It is.
Yeah.
And to probably get skilled with enough, to do certain things. Where if you're thinking about home protection, like, it's not ideal to be like...
You're not going to be like Legolas, being able to shoot 3 arrows every 10 seconds.
Right? So not practical in that sense. But on the other hand, like, the allure to me, I think, is the amount of work and commitment that it would take to actually become effective,
masterful.
Masterful in it. And so that's something that I've been contemplating for a while, and I've just started taking steps towards actually doing the thing. So, looking up where I can go to shoot during the winter, like how guys shoot when it's cold outside, or actually going out and trying to shoot. Looking up YouTube videos about hunting with trad bows, and so I'm immersed in that right now on the one hand, and then maybe there's probably 3 that I'm going to bring up. So archery is one. Music is another one. That's a whole area that I feel called to work on it, and simultaneously I feel totally inept.
Yeah,
like,
it's that's like
incapable.
almost more of a therapeutic thing than it is a hobby thing for you.
Yes, yeah, truly.
Like overcoming your fears and your false agreements and
Yes,
everything like
yeah.
that.
Where archery, it's like I just
Hobby,
need to go practice it. I don't have fear
adventure.
about it.
Yeah.
But with music, there's some roadblocks, and it's like I feel like you were saying, some doubt, self-doubt, and I'm trying to push through that and do some learning, do some practicing, and and get better at it. And so I have been. I think I'm out of contemplative. I'm in to the action stage right now, and I'm doing some work and finding some fulfillment in it. Um, this might seem stupid, but one of the things that I love about music is that it's so easy. Once I can get into it, I get lost.
You can get immersed.
Totally lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. I last night was like, I'm gonna work on music for 30 minutes. I'm dead tired. I had a hard time getting upstairs and going to work on it. Finally get to the desk set up, and I'm starting to do some things, and I like get in this flow where I'm like, oh, this is just like lights are going off, and like I'm coming up with ideas of like how to arrange things, and anyway, like 2 hours pass, and I'm sitting there like, I look at the clock, I'm like, oh my goodness. I hear the door open. Chelsea comes in from class, at night, and it blew my mind that I'd spent that much time doing that stuff.
Getting lost in it.
Yeah, so I think that was a feeling to me of God's calling me to do this work, and not work, but it's self-work, I'll call it.
Sure, it is work.
And at the same time, I think I need to figure out how to learn some balance. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at in the action mode. And then the last thing is kind of getting more committed and invested in my marital relationship. I love my wife. I've been learning about our love languages and learning about love languages and identifying what hers are. We had a really cool discussion the other day about what we saw in the other person, and we even did this quiz on truity.com. It's one I'd recommend, and learned that one of my love languages is just practicality. Like I just need a practical love. Like,
just be practical.
The dishes are dirty, the dishwasher is full and clean, and she committed to cleaning, taking the dishes out of the dishwasher. The other day I came home, opened the dishwasher expecting it to be full of clean dishes, and she'd already taken them out. And I was like,
that felt good.
I felt love actually. And that might seem so not romantic or whatever, but at the same time, like it was perfect for me. And so I'm trying to figure out how to I know one thing for her, just give her a massage. She's got this one knot that we have not been able to
never
work
get it out.
Shoulder. So I feel like I'm in preparation a little bit there and a little bit in action, and anyway, just kind of.
It sounds like across all three of those, it's like the archery one is you're sort of moving into more and more action. You've been in like preparation action there.
Yeah.
With your wife, it sounds like there's different elements of you that are across anywhere from, contemplation to preparation and action. You're doing a lot of kind of all three of those things in that realm of relationship. And then in your music, it sounds like you're pressing yourself into action. You spend a lot of time in preparation. Well, you've already done a lot of the preparation. You spend a lot of time in contemplation, and then you push yourself into action. When you're there, you actually really enjoy it, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's it exactly. One question I have for you is how do people move through from one thing to the next as seamlessly as possible, or is it that it always has to be cumbersome? Like, one of the biggest questions or challenges probably is motivation.
Yeah.
Right. So how does somebody acquire the motivation to move through those things? Is that even the right way of looking at it?
Well, I think that's a decent way to look at it. If we think about the process, it's going to be clunky no matter what, because change is different, and different takes time, of that kind of messy middle part of doing something awkwardly until you're good at it, right? But the person who has the attitude of the growth mindset sees that as a necessary part of the change, which allows them to stay committed to it. Where the person who feels betrayed by it, like, oh, I was making this change and all of a sudden it's too hard, they give up on it more. And so they take more time, they spend more time in that contemplative state rather than the action state. So the ability to stay committed to the process and see it as a process allows people to stay in it and move through it more seamlessly, right? So working really hard on developing the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset is a really important thing. We could do a whole nother episode on that at some point. Staying committed to it. And what's interesting about motivation is that, and we've said this all the time, but motivation comes after the action. We always think we're waiting to get motivated and then we'll go do something. And that does happen sometimes. But if we can figure out how to see and set up little wins along the way. So instead of the big target that I didn't hit, man, I got this little thing done today. That's a win. Once I've done something and I notch a little win, winning produces motivation. So maybe I wasn't able to stop drinking all the way this week. But you know what? I went 5 days without stopping at the gas station. I'm committed to that. I'm gonna make more days in a row that I am not stopping at the gas station than I did. Right? That's a win. I'm gonna stay committed to the process, and little wins stack on top of each other and allow you to kind of stay motivated more often, even though motivation leaves sometimes. Right? We also understanding motivation and that can't be the sustainable fuel source. Motivation is like the bonus fuel you get. It's like when you play a video game and you get to hit the jet pack for a second. It's like, yeah. The star when you play like Super Mario Brothers, like go-karts or whatever they're called, Mario Kart, right? Like that's motivation. And the commitment is to continue to press forward when there is no motivation. And a lot of people have a hard time with that, naturally.